The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 138. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Visit our blog at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a special lady on today. She is a inspirational speaker, writer, and she also has her own podcast, which is called Straight Talk for a Curvy World. And she's here today to share her story and her tips on self-confidence. So I'm just really grateful to have her on. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Ann Peck. Ann, how are you doing today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Sheena, I'm fantastic, and I want to thank you so much for having me on your show. It's an honor. As far as my background, I have the podcast and we focus on women over 40. We talk about the things that we don't talk about, all those things that we hide because of grief, shame, guilt, and fear. And I also work with women, mentoring them on all of those things I just mentioned. And then I have my newest book coming out later this year. It's called I Am More Than Enough. So I'm real excited about that.
Awesome. Well, that's a lot of cool stuff going on, and I can't wait to check out that book when it comes out. And, what's your cultural background?
Nothing terribly exciting. I grew up in the Midwest. I was adopted as an infant and then raised in Iowa, both between the city and the farm. And there were really no strong ties to any cultural heritage of any sort.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
There are so many quotes that I turn to. One of my most favorite is from Terry St. Cloud. And she writes, she could never go back and make some of the details pretty. All she could do was move forward and make the whole beautiful. And Sheena, what I love about this quote is that it takes us into the present as opposed to staying stuck in the past, because we can't change the past. And for myself, and I know like many of the women that I speak with and work with, it becomes really easy to focus on what we did wrong or how we failed or all of those things that we don't like about ourselves or that we may have regrets about. And Terry St. Cloud just writes it so beautifully because we can't change it. So why even think about it and just move forward and make the whole beautiful.
I love it. And, it's true. Like as women, we always, tend to go back to the past thinking, well, what if this happened or what if that happened? And really, it already happened, right? Can't go back. You can't change it. The only thing we can do is learn from it and move forward. And, I always believe our past can never define our future. I mean, we can change it in an instant. So love that quote. It's great. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
It's been a long way getting here. But I define self-confidence as knowing who you are and equally important, knowing who you are not. And for me, that has taken many, many years to peel away the layers of the scripts other people wrote for me that I adopted as my truth, or the myths that I was living by, believing that they were accurate. So knowing who I am and knowing who I'm not, that to me is self-confidence.
I love it because, a lot of us, we try to be someone who we're not. And, when something like that happens and it's not right for you and you keep on forcing it, it just doesn't work, right? Because, your authentic self just knows that it's not you. So, it's just more freeing to just be who you are instead of trying to be who you're not. So I really love that definition. What was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Oh, wow. So my life before self-confidence was really just kind of going through the motions. I say a lot, it was smiling on the outside while dying on the inside. And truly for me, it was like hiding in plain sight. I'm 5'10", blonde. I can't hide even if I try, but I thought I was hiding. Going through life. I didn't want people to see me. And so I focused on taking care of everything and everyone around me. And one of the things that I've come to realize along my journey is how I was living by the wrong I ams. And we've seen all the Facebook memes that say, the two words that or I am are the two most powerful words, and what comes after them defines our reality. And it is more than just a little meme or a little saying. It is absolute truth. And I know that not just for myself, but for others too that I've spoken with. But for myself, I spent, from the time I was little, I spent life saying to myself that I am unlovable. I am unworthy. I am, and then I'd fill in the blank with words like fat or stupid or ugly. I had all of these negative words that I was saying to myself, and when you put them all together, I didn't feel like I was enough. I didn't feel like I was enough. So that was life before discovering self-confidence.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think we're all guilty of that, right? We all focus on the negative things. Like you said, I am not worthy, I'm stupid, I don't know how to do this. And really it's so easy to just change that, right? Just say the opposite of it. And it just makes a huge difference. And sometimes, maybe society puts something on us or kind of subconsciously tells us that, we need to do more and more and more to be worthy, when really we are more than enough, right? And when we realize we're more than enough, we don't have to worry about what others think or what society tells us to do. And what was that moment in your life when you realized too that you were more than enough, that you're this amazing human being that can go out there and change the world?
Well, the beginning of that moment came shortly before my mother took her last breath. She was in hospice. I had been her caregiver, and I was holding her hand, and she was telling me how she had not pursued her dreams because she'd been afraid and because she didn't feel worthy. And what's fascinating is how shocked I was. And it wasn't because I was hearing her say these things for the first time. It was because of what she said next. And it was really difficult, Sheena, for her to talk at this time. So she was, speaking in whispers. And after she had said those things, she asked me to come even closer. And then she looked at me. I could still see her face. She did her little finger, come here closer, real close, she said. And then the moment happened, and she was holding my hand, and she said to me, "Don't let your dreams die inside you." And the shocking part of that, Sheena, was that I didn't think anybody knew I was. And there I was following the same path my mom had taken. And it was at that moment that I knew something had to change. And then she died, hours later. And that was really the beginning for me. That was the beginning of, is this how I want my life to end? And it wasn't. But it didn't happen overnight. That was the beginning.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, it's amazing when you can, when someone tells you something like this, right? Like, don't let your dreams die inside of you, because there's so many people out there who want to do something, and they always have this phrase like, someday I'll do this, someday I'll do that. And, someday just never comes, right? And, you just have to take action today, right? Whatever it is. And even if you don't know how to get there, because none of us really know how to get there, we just kind of stumble along the way to get them, right? And it's crazy, right? And it's an unfortunate incident that happened with you and your mom, but then also at the same time, it helped you realize your true potential, and now you're out there, helping other women realize their own potential as well. So, thanks for sharing that. And, after that huge realization, what's your life like now?
Well, I tell you, I was afraid to leave my house after that happened. Not directly after, but at a point in time after that, I was still afraid to leave my house. And now, Sheena, I travel the world. And my life with self-confidence is absolutely overflowing with joy. I came to create the I Am Habits, which has really been the roadmap for what got me from not having self-confidence to living in this life where I'm truly having an affair with joy. It's just the most incredible feeling. So even when things don't go the way I want them to, or people disappoint me, or let's be real, when I disappoint myself, having confidence means being able to look myself in the mirror and saying, I am more than enough. Just like you mentioned, just like the title of my book, I am more than enough. And the I Am Habits helped me get there. And life truly couldn't be more joyous, even when things aren't going the way we plan.
Thank you. And, we always have days where things don't go as we planned, right? But I always believe there's a reason for them to happen, right? Something better is going to come along. So, I just don't even look at them as like things don't go wrong. I just look at, what was the, what can I gain from this experience? And it just makes life a lot easier and a lot more fun to live. And so, yeah, thanks for, sharing that. And if our listeners, they're listening to your episode, they're in their own journey of self-confidence, what would be that one tip you would give to her?
I would invite her to learn to love her life from the inside out. And what I mean by that is, instead of looking at these things that are outside of us, whether they're material things, whether they're people, whether they're situations, and looking at those to bring love and worth to us, it starts from within. I'm a firm believer that happiness comes from outside in and joy comes from the inside out and creates the happiness on the outside. And I believe that love is the same way.
I love it. Great tip. And I always believe, too, if you ever want, anything in life, it has to start from within. It has to start with you and just working, inside out. So great tip. And if our listeners want to connect with you and get to know a little bit more about what you do and, want to listen to your podcast, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Oh, absolutely. I'd invite your listeners to check out my website. It's AnnPeck.com. And on social media, you can find our page at Facebook.com/Straight Talk for Curvy World. And for anyone that would like a copy of the I Am Habits for themselves, they can text I Am Habits, all one word, to 44222.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Ann, you can also go to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Ann's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just really want to thank Ann for taking the time to share her story with us, share her tips on self-confidence. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It was an honor. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us on the Tao of Self-Confidence. Visit thetaoofselfconfidence.com for links to everything we chatted about today, as well as killer resources, gifts, and so much more. Start your inner journey to self-confidence today.